I just happened to be looking in my mother's underwear drawer the other day. I came across something disturbing. Lying there under a tidy pile of unmentionables was a book, a manual. It had pictures and directions and diagrams, and included a little note inscribed to my dad. Hope this helps. You could imagine the horror I felt. I mean, what kind of help did my dad need? My parents have been married for 27 years. What was going on? Did I really want to know? When I flipped the book to its front cover, I found a clue. There, in bold-faced letters, was the most perplexing title I had ever seen. How to Say I Love You and Mean It. Ah, the continuing mystery of the language of love and appreciation. Did you ever take the time to stop and rustle through the magazines at the checkout counter? This guy knows what I'm talking about. The ones screaming headlines like, does he really love you or just envy your hairline? Is your love connection made of Legos or Lincoln Logs? Forgiveness, will you let him take back the Atkins remark? And it's not just I love you we need to work on. What about saying simple phrases like thank you or something courteous like how are you? Unfortunately, we have become so shallow that what should be the most meaningful words in our language, well, they've been reduced to mere parenthetical expressions. Come on, you're all English types. I know you know what those are. Those meaningless little turns of phrase we love to sandwich in between deep and meaningful thoughts in our conversations. Let's be honest. We use words of love, gratitude, and regret for personal gain and satisfaction. And by doing so, we not only leave people confused about our intentions, but often hurt, both emotionally and physically. Now, the popular belief nowadays is that a small spin on the truth does have its place in our relationships. For example, let's say your girlfriend puts on a new dress, and she asks you, does this make my hips look big? Pause with me a moment. There is no right answer. Of course you can't tell her what you think. But we take deception to a whole new level when we justify insincerity in times of true sentiment. According to a study conducted at MIT, a survey of adult married couples found that 55% of the subjects admitted to saying I love you without meaning it. And 25% admitted to saying something during intimate conversations only because it was what they thought the other partner wanted to hear. But the most shocking finding was that an overwhelming 71% of couples thought that their marriages were stronger because they learned to reword their true thoughts. Is it just me? Or does this not strike you as a bizarre philosophy? I mean, since when was lying healthy for a marriage? Motivational speaker Sharon Ellison explained that we often use insincere words not to better our relationships, but because they are a great means of self-gratification. In her book, Taking the War Out of Our Words, she explains that although we hear thank yous and apologies all the time, they are not always real. Often the goal is not to express true gratitude or regret, but to not take responsibility for one's actions, or to gain a favor in return for one's words. And hey, it works. On April 8, 2004, USA Today released a nationwide study on sexually active adolescents and found that sexual appeal in a partner rose dramatically when he or she freely used words of love. I love you. Think of the ways men use the words, I love you or I'm sorry to win a girl. When Ewan McGregor sings the line, and I love you to Nicole Kidman in Moulin Rouge, he doesn't really love her. Recall the lines, I was made for loving you, baby. Give me just one night. Before the famous I love you, which, by the way, Kidman generously rewards. You would think that after decades of dealing with teen sex and its consequences, we would finally get the picture. But the January 2005 issue of Ladies' Home Journal reported that children as young as 11 and 12 are sexually active due to manipulative older partners. Look, I'm telling you, just say no. He doesn't mean it when he uses the L word the night before prom. Trust me, I'm the byproduct of an L word. Personally, I think it's sad when we use selfless words of love, gratitude, and regret with selfish intentions. And it goes beyond sadness when our selfishness results in deeply hurting others, both emotionally and physically. You see, according to the Bureau of Justice Statistics, we live in a society in which 1 in 4 women are sexually, physically, or emotionally abused by an intimate partner. But strangely enough, these women don't even file a complaint, let alone recognize the abuse for what it is. The No Safe Place Violence Against Women program blames this phenomenon on what they call the cycle of violence. The abuser who terrified the family will profusely apologize and become incredibly loving. Believing in their abuser's false words, the victims will then recommit to their relationships in a fantasized hope that the violence won't begin again. But the cycle will begin again, often becoming worse. Like many who suffer the consequences of insincere words, my Aunt Natalie was a freshman at Duquesne University when one night she left a party early with her boyfriend. She thought that the two of them could handle being alone in her room. He had never pressed her for sex, and besides, she thought that when two people loved each other, they respected each other's choices. 2 years later, depressed and suicidal, she joined a date rape support group. Later, in an interview for my school, she said to me, "He told me he loved me every time, and I believed him until it nearly destroyed my life." At first, I couldn't understand why women like my aunt didn't just leave. But the Battered Women's Resources Program taught me that we should not criticize the women. Instead, we need to open our eyes to a society that teaches us to accept words of love and regret, even if they are spoken without an ounce of thought or care. So, how is it that we go about changing a habit as deeply rooted as this? I mean, of course, there are many examples of insincerity in our society, like Caesar's backstabbing best friend Brutus, or like when Brad ran away with Angelina and he just left Jennifer there. Look, I just think what we need to do is break the cycle early. The online parenting newspaper Pagewise expressed that because parents often reward their children for repeating phrases such as "excuse me" or "I'm sorry" without telling them why, children learn the benefits of these phrases rather than the actual meanings behind them. And as for you pre-parental folks, stop rewarding your friends for their meaningless words. The next time your boyfriend says, "I love you," ask him why. Let's see what he has to say to that. Finally, Philippa Courtney, author of The Partner Principle, explained that if we want to become more sincere, there are concrete steps that we can take. First off, we need to have an honest interest in other people. Don't ask someone, "How are you?" unless you're actually willing to listen to their response. Soon, you'll find saying things like "thank you" or "I'm sorry," they'll just have more meaning. And of course, if it's intimacy you want, realize that you don't have to confess a love that doesn't exist. Whatever happened to the words, "I like you," or something unique like, "I heart you"? I use it all the time. No, my sister uses that. I wouldn't. So what is love? My dad tells me that love is knowing exactly how deeply you care for a person. It's an unexplainable feeling that can't be compared to anything else. It is unique, infinite. I'm pretty sure he's been doing some reading on the subject. I guess you can say that you witness love whenever you see an elderly couple holding hands, or a man standing uncertainly at a flower shop because he can't find anything good enough for the woman he's chosen to spend the rest of his life with. Or when I'm at home, it's seeing my mom glance over at my dad and having that look on her face like she can't imagine life without him. Wow. I learned all that in my mother's underwear drawer. Well, just think what we could learn in the drawer where she keeps her nightgowns. Hey, easy, buddy. That's my mother we're talking about.